This meeting is being recorded.
Greetings and welcome to the Healthy Sales Chick Show. I am Nancy White, the host of this show, and here we love to talk about a healthy mind, our body, and our spirit. And we need to nurture all three every single day, or one of those areas are going to start letting us know it's been left out. As my dear friend Paula Fellingham, the founder of Win Win Women TV, always says, we welcome you with open arms and open hearts. I have a question for you. Are your cells happy and healthy from head to toe? They just might need a little refreshing makeover. Again, we are here to bring amazing people to share their knowledge, wisdom, and understanding on different ways to nurture that mind, that body, and that spirit. And I have a lovely guest with me this evening, Sarah Dawkins, and she is a coach for women. And I'm telling you, Sarah has got an incredible book. We're going to talk even more about that in a little bit. But Sarah, thank you so much for your willingness just to come and spend some time with us.
Oh, my pleasure. And thank you, Nancy, for inviting me on your show.
Well, this is a time when we always love to talk about ways, and your topic that we're going to share about is heal yourself. And sometimes people think, heal yourself? Well, Sarah is a highly sought after holistic health and healing coach. And she's also a keynote speaker and the author of Heal Yourself, which I also have a copy of, and we're going to talk about some of that in content in a little bit. But she is a multi-award winning entrepreneur and a host of a popular health focused podcast, Heal Yourself with Sarah Dawkins. As a former registered nurse with over 20 years, I know she doesn't look like it, of medical experience, Sarah brings a unique integrative perspective to her work. Sarah's expertise spans from self-healing, multiple chronic health issues to supporting clients and uncovering and addressing the root causes, no band-aids here, of their symptoms, empowering them to again achieve health and transformative wellness. And Sarah, I would love to hear what it was that just brought you to this moment that you decided, okay, I'm going to start taking all this knowledge, wisdom, and the things that have gone on with me and start sharing them with others.
Thank you, Nancy. I'd gone through many health challenges through my life, but being raised by my parents my mum was a nurse, my dad was a fireman. So they were, if you're sick, you need a doctor and a pill and a prescription and a diagnosis. And that was the only kind of wellness, in inverted commas, that I knew. But somebody challenged me when I worked in America as a nurse about my use of pharmaceuticals at home. So that started the ball rolling into, well, what does she mean by that? And how can my body possibly heal if I don't take pharmaceuticals? And I started researching and found out actually our bodies and minds are so powerful that I started my own healing journey. And I healed eczema, psoriasis, and acid reflux in the first month by just cutting out gluten and dairy, getting a bit more exercise, and doing some de stressing. So then I'm like, wow, my body's really healing itself. I don't have to take the steroids and the pink medicine for the acid reflux. And so I'm seeing direct results from the small tweaks I've made in my lifestyle. So that started me then looking deeper and further into healing. And I went on to heal candida, chronic joint pain, an underactive thyroid, burned out adrenal glands, and I ended up with depression with suicidal thoughts. And that was my real pivotal point, because as I struggled for nearly 3 years in that depressive state and had suicidal thoughts for maybe a month or so. But as I started to heal from that, I started to reflect on how far I'd come in my own healing world outside of the medicine and the medical model that I'd been raised in and was working in, because I was still a nurse. And I became very conflicted. And that depression actually took me off on a different trajectory. I decided I needed to step away from the hospital, but I couldn't leave the role as nurse because that's who I was. I'm Sarah the nurse. And that was a whole nother issue around authenticity. So I sidestepped out of that and became a nurse entrepreneur. So I kind of, my trajectory stepped outside where I was going into a different one, but still within the nursing. And that's where I won my awards as an entrepreneur locally and nationally. But I still was having this bit of a battle with my soul, really, because I've healed myself. I'm helping others to heal themselves. But to be the entrepreneur that I am, I still have to sign every year to say I uphold the nursing register, and I will live within that medical model and guide people within that medical model. But actually, I wasn't doing that. So I decided I had to step outside and away from that because I simply couldn't uphold the nursing standards that were required of me, because I'm now helping others to heal themselves outside of that medical model. So I trained as a coach, closed that business down and set up my second business. And that, my trajectory just took off totally. Changed my mindset around what healing entailed, because I've gone from believing I need a pill to now believing my body heals itself, and changed that core belief that I borrowed from my parents that we need the pills. And now I am in a totally different world, away from the hospitals and the medicine, helping people to understand the root cause, because it's the root cause of our symptoms that we need to really address. And Western medicine just gives us a pill to stop the symptom. And that isn't true healing. So we have to dig into, why is my body producing, manifesting these symptoms, this diagnosis? What is it trying to say? So I went, it was a slow journey, but it was that depression with suicidal thoughts that really was the crux of my change and my pivoting. And I wouldn't wish it on anybody because it was awful. But actually looking back, I am so thankful that I went through that, because I wouldn't be where I am today if I hadn't.
Well, Sarah, and just, the things that we are raised with, the things that we have been taught growing up, it's a challenge sometimes to be able to release those things, because we believe them to be true. We believe them to be, our parents, I think, did the best that they could, with what they had. But then when we learn something new, especially starting with that mindset and that healing of that mind first and foremost, and believe me, it's ongoing, just like we're talking about. It's not a once and done. And just like you're sharing, the pills, the pharmaceuticals just want little band-aids. They don't want us to die. They'll lose a customer, but they want us to just hang on. And so, but getting that mindset and going past that fear of, well, what if I don't? And what if I do? And all these types of things, all that mind chatter. Do you still go through some of that too, Sarah, in this day and time?
No, actually, because I've managed to heal that. When I first started meditating, as I was healing, that mind chatter was awful. Like, who are you? Who do you think you are? What are you doing? You're not worthy. You're not a writer. You're not this. You're not that. You've never owned a business before. And it was just incessant. And that was really challenging.
It is, especially for a lot of women, and they need somebody, Sarah, like yourself and others that they can confide in, to let them know that they're not crazy.
Yes. Yeah, because you do think you're going crazy. You start to listen to it and like, well, can I really do this? Is this the right thing for me to do? And of course, my family was still in that medical model, thinking I'm crazy, saying I'm crazy. They weren't afraid of telling me that they thought I was crazy. But internally, I just knew that I could heal that depression and step outside of it. And that knowing, I think, was the crux of me pivoting from being a nurse to being a health coach as I came out of that.
Well, I just celebrate you and congratulate you too, Sarah, because I love research, and I've been doing research too on certain things that can lead to dementia, and some of the medications that are for anxiety, depression, and all those things have a direct correlation to people developing dementia later on in life. And so I
And
think,
PPIs too,
mhm,
for acid.
yep,
Yeah.
it is. And even for Benadryl and some other things that, that people just take because they've always taken it. And somebody said, oh, you have an allergy or you have whatever. And so I think helping people to realize that there's some other alternatives. There's
Yes.
some other alternatives with long-term positive benefits instead of long-term negative benefits. But in this day and time, people are so fast. They want, especially in this country. I know you're in Spain, but especially in this country, people want a quick fix. They want something, right now to take care of it, and without even thinking about the repercussions down the road. So,
Yeah. And here too, I see it here too. They all come out of the pharmacy with bags full of medicines. I'm like, wow.
I know, and we have to be mindful and be permission based, when we're
Yeah.
talking with people. So do you realize some of the things that may not be as beneficial for you down the road? It doesn't matter to you or not. And if it doesn't matter, then that's where I tell people that's where we learn to BNR. We bless and release people, because
Yes.
people have the privilege and the honor to make up their own mind and their own choices and decisions, whether
Yes.
we agree with them or not. So when you're talking about some things, how they're all connected, that mind, that body, and that spirit, it's just like, how do you connect those, Sarah? How do you see how those just continually relate and continually support each other in those areas?
When I'm working with clients,
Mm-hmm.
we just converse in a compassionate, empathic conversation. And I can pick out the physical, the emotional, the mental, and the spiritual. And I can get the client to go back to some of the scenarios and situations they've maybe told me about, and just get them to look at it through different eyes and share with them, make them aware of the mental aspects, the physical aspects, the emotional aspects, and the spiritual aspects. And just ask little questions to make them think so that they can find their own answers. But there's always those four elements of what are needed to be addressed to stay healthy, but also to heal. Everything is so interconnected, and we can't just look in one. And when I first started my healing, I was just only looking in that physical plane, because as a nurse, that's all I was taught about. So when we're doing the physical, we're looking at nutrition, exercise, hydration, sleep, and maybe breath work. But then there's the emotional and spiritual and mental aspects that need to be addressed as well. So, and when we look at them, nothing's really difficult or challenging if we break it down into small chunks. But we have to address all four elements to be able to stay healthy and to help support our body to heal. But I mean, our body's healing all the time. When we support it, it becomes a lot more efficient.
It does. Oh my gosh, I know, because our body completely regenerates every 6 to 8 years, and you might as well keep on working on making a new good one. So when you're talking with some of your clients too, do you allow them to just sort of discover what their priority is that they want to work on?
Yes. Yes. They come to me, or they'll say, do you work with people with this? Do you work with people with that? Do you do this? And I'll say yes.
Mm-hmm.
And they'll come and they'll start talking. And 9 times out of 10, what they think is their problem really isn't.
Mm-hmm.
And as we talk, it becomes more clear to them. So they then get a better idea of, as they start digging deeper, like, this is the surface level. Do you deal with this? Well, yes, I do. But when I take that away, they're like, oh, actually, I've found this. Can we work with this? And then when we start working with that, quite often it's like peeling an onion, each layer comes back and then that fades away and this surfaces. So I help them to unravel and peel their onion right back down to what the core issue is that's causing the symptoms. And they might not be aware of some of the symptoms. They've just got this high level issue that they're thinking of. So it helps them to unravel themselves to get a better picture of what their real problem is. It would be so easy to go, actually, I'm talking to you and I see that's your problem, but that's not helpful to them. They have to talk through it and unravel it themselves to find their own answers.
And you're teaching and training them how to do it, because when you were talking about the onion, I just had this flashback. Over a decade ago, I was speaking at a women's group at a church, and the lady asked me, she said, we're going to be talking about healing and forgiveness. I said, great. I said, can I bring a butcher knife? And she went, okay. So, Sarah, one of the things, the props that I had was I had a cutting board and I put a big, gigantic onion on the board and I had my big butcher knife. I said, this is not the way the Lord wants healing to go about. And I just smacked it and cut it in half. And I said, but you see the layers. I said, we go through healing layer by layer. And I'm sitting there thinking, those women will never forget this short little woman that came to church with her butcher knife and her onion. But it is so important as you're teaching and training and showing these women, especially, how you go through that process. And it builds. And it also builds even in our health, because as we do, just like you're talking about, the exercise, the sleep, the nutrition, all those things build upon each other. So what are some of the questions that you hear a lot of, especially from your clients? And is there sort of something that keeps coming up more often than others?
I think emotional problems from childhood.
Mm-hmm.
People present with a whole range of diverse symptoms and diagnoses. And when I'm talking to them and I get them to reflect on parts of the story that they've told me, it takes them back to their childhood. And then I ask them to just explain more, give me more information, what happened, who was there, where was it? And as they start to look at it through the eyes of the adult that they are now, they realize they're holding it as the child that they were. And they can see how it underpins the health problems that they're presenting with now as a result of how they're holding that trauma. Not everybody, but a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
So it's about helping them to look through the eyes of compassion and unconditional love as the adult they are now, looking at the bigger picture, because as a child, we just look at the tiny detail that involved us and we hold on to that and then stuff it down.
Mm-hmm.
And it's held, that one little detail is held through the eyes of that child we were. When we can go back and look at the bigger picture, who was involved and what was going on, it helps the clients to see how that incident occurred and the actual relevance of it in their symptoms today. And then we can work with that.
Mm-hmm. I love it. When you were saying that, all I could just sort of think of is that's a little anchor. There's a little anchor that people are carrying around. And we've heard so many times people say, we can either carry our suitcases or it could be baggage. And so, holding you back and not being able to release it. So you're helping them really get rid of that little anchor and just to have that freedom and release, which is huge. Because every time we get to release, and we do every single day, then we can receive something good and positive and put it in its place.
Yes, because nature abhors a vacuum.
It does. I knew our time was going to run real quick. So tell us a little bit more about your book, about Heal Yourself. I've been reading parts of it. It's a good book, and it's got really little font too. But tell us what brought this book about.
Thank you. So as I started healing from the depression, and I'd healed all those other health conditions as well, I thought I need to tell people about this, because myself, it was all new to me. I'd never even heard of natural self-healing because I was brought into we need a doctor and a pill. So I'm like, wow, look at this whole new world that's opened up. So I started writing my own story. But then to cut it short, I realized I needed more people with more health conditions to share, to show the readers that actually, look, there's all these different health conditions. Some are life-threatening, some are diagnosed as chronic and lifelong. And yet these people are all healing themselves naturally. Lots of different methods. Nobody's done the same work. I've got 3 or 4 people healed multiple sclerosis. They've all done something differently, and they've all had different timeframes for healing. So I reached out on social media. 74 people came back to me. They all wrote their own stories, healing things like multiple sclerosis, ALS, autoimmune, allergies, stroke, Lyme, cancer, so many different health problems. And they all wrote their own stories in their own words. And so my book was born. I self-published it on Amazon to get it out into the wider world. And it's just to share with people, to show people that actually healing happens. And all these people and myself have done it. So don't ever think that you can't heal, because we can. It's a mindset. It's a belief system. So we need to work with the belief underpinning that I can't heal, I need a pill. To challenge that.
That's a cute rhyme. That should be your tagline. That's it.
Yeah. But that was my belief system too. I need a pill. I can't heal, until I did heal.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that is so fantastic, Sarah. So what is the easiest way for people to get in touch with you?
Thank you. Through my website, www.sarahdawkins.com. That's SARAHDAWKINS.com.
That is awesome. So what's coming up next for you, Sarah? What's on the horizon for you?
I am looking to speak on more platforms, and my ultimate would be a TEDx talk. That is my aim for the future. I've just put that out to the universe. How I get there, I'm unsure, but that's where I'm headed.
It will happen.
It certainly will.
It will. Oh, well, I am so grateful again for that our paths crossed, Sarah, and that you allowed me to have some time with you just to get to know you better, but also to have other people get to be introduced to you. And we will share this information, because we do know that the best marketing tool there is to tell a woman. So we love doing that. But again, and maybe in the future, we will have a next exciting episode and find out more about what's going on with you. But until then, thank you so much, Sarah. And I want to just encourage everyone, check out some of the other Win-Win Women TV shows. We've got amazing show hosts, and it's a good place to become educated, encouraged, inspired. And come back and join me next Wednesday at 7 p.m. And also come to my website, The Healthy Sales Chick, and it's CELLS. And I would love to hear how you're taking care of your self-care, so you don't need health care, but also find out ways if there's any support that I can help you with also. But again, Sarah, thank you so much. And I encourage everybody, take care of those temporary pimples until you get your permanent maintenance free one. But it's more important that it's fireproof. Thank you, Sarah.